Some of the route Billy the Kid would have had to have taken on his journey to Lincoln. I'm standing here in the pathway, the trail here of what would have had to have been the roadway into Lincoln, where Billy the Kid was sentenced, I guess, where he went to court. I'm heading up to the courthouse up here where Billy the Kid was held. Now right down here, that's when I get down into Lincoln, I'll make it a point to show you where the water came from, because everybody's got to drink water and nobody ever asks, where does the water come from? There was no running water back then. I'm going to show you where they got their water from, but it comes back to this stream here, which goes along, and then right up over the hill here is the historic town of Lincoln. I'm going to make an effort to show the actual courthouse and all of that very well this trip, this time. Transporting Billy the Kid into Lincoln would have incorporated this pathway. You just imagine a dirt road with horses and carriages. This is what the terrain would have been like back in Billy's day. I'm now within 5 miles of Lincoln, off in that pass there. Structure could possibly date back to that Billy the Kid era. 4 miles outside of Lincoln. It's a big rock on the side of the road coming into the historic town of Lincoln. There's my car for scale. What's fascinating is that at some point, this rock the size of a small house had to have fallen from there. Gateway of Lincoln there. The carriage carrying Billy the Kid would have been coming down this road, and just over the hill there, just right there where all those cars are, is the old courthouse. Back when this was a dirt road, here Billy the Kid would have been chained up in the carriage. Coming down into the town of Lincoln, where pretty much the very first courthouse at that time was. Right here, just at the other side of this building here, is the courthouse. Let's take a look around here to see what Edith saw out the window coming to his judgment. Now here, just off to the right, is where they do all the Billy the Kid reenactment stuff. I have not seen that myself. Just a real quick offshoot. Here's where you'd, I guess, buy your ticket to park. You'd park in here. I just find this interesting before we get to the courthouse, which is just right on the other side of this reenactment area. Just a little bit of interesting tidbits. There you have the cast horses. And there you have the cast people would go in that door there. Let's go ahead and take a peek in there. Okay, as is my way, I like to be a little unusual. We're here at the back. I'm parked out there at the road here. We're at the back. We're going to look in from the back of the place. Just follow me. Okay, I was expecting the fence to be easier to see over, but no big deal. I can reach high enough to get you over there. There's some old-timey. Hey, Beller. Okay, I'm gonna step up on here and let's take a peek up over the fence here. This is where they do the Billy the Kid reenactments. Of course, you wouldn't want to be out here in the summertime like I am. And then that there is the courthouse. Now that's where I'm heading to now. I'm walking back from behind the reenactment area here, just the other side of the courthouse. I just want to point out something you never hear anybody mention. The air. There's a real sweet smell in the air. Something similar to hay, and you can smell horsey kind of barn kind of smell. But then there's that sweetness. It's a sweet smell. And the air is so clean. Then if you look around, you would think that these are mountains. But in reality, we are actually in a canyon. Let's go to the courthouse. Now I may or may not be illegally parked, being as I'm in the horse parking area. Now because it's hot and it's summertime, I'm parked in the shade. But I'm going to take you back a little ways and come back up towards the courthouse here. I find it strange that the only vehicles parked behind the courthouse just happen to be Corvettes. Okay, you can pause this if you want to read this in depth. and the other side of the sign. Let's get a look at what it looked like approaching. Okay, we're Billy the Kid on the carriage coming in. There's the courthouse. The clock is ticking. He's getting nervous. He knows he's in bad trouble. We're coming in. He's in chains. I don't have any idea where the carriage would have pulled in, but I'm assuming that it would have pulled in behind. Probably would have turned in here. Okay, we're at the back of the courthouse now, which of course and naturally has been updated and maintained slightly through the years. I'm gonna guess that the carriage would have parked somewhere back off in here. Now later on, when I'm inside the courthouse, I'll show some of this area here in the back. This is just so that you can see it now, to keep me from going in and out, because it is two-story and I have to buy a ticket and all that, and I've got a limited amount of time to be here. But right now I'm going to come over here to this grave marker, this gravestone. It's not a grave, but it's a marker where when it gets to this point of the video, when I show this out the window, I'll be showing it out of that window there. This is J.W. Bell, the guy that Billy the Kid shot at the top, from the top of the stairway. So whenever I show this, you'll have already seen it really good at this point in the video. Just outside the armory, which this window up here is the old armory. Let's go back around front. Okay, they've got him out. More than likely they brought him in from the back, but we're going to go in from the front. We're coming up into the front of the courthouse here. Now the sheriff's office would have been up here at the top. That would have been the old saloon right across the street. No sense in trying to stop filming for every car. Up these stairs was the sheriff's office. Now we can't go in from out here, but when I'm inside, it reveals all that. This would have been the doors entering into the sheriff's office. We're gonna go ahead and peek in the window. Just because I think that's cool. Okay, the sheriff coming out this door would have stepped out on this balcony. From here, you could see most of the town. Most of the town. That would have been the saloon right there. Now this is probably one of the most authentic old western towns in the United States, or at least that's what their claim to fame is. So we got the sheriff would have walked up and down through here. I'll go down through the town a little and later on in the video. Let's go to the front door. We're going to come down and come into the courthouse. Any of these signs I show you, you just pause and read if you'd like. You do find yourself here, it is $5 an adult to go in and take the tour. I don't know whether you can film or not, but I'm going to do it.
In the whole United States.
We saw on the map there, it extended all the way to Texas.
Yes. So it was the largest county in all the United States at that time.
Wow. And they did not take it easily when Zozo decided.
Look at that.
to want to keep the county.
The suspension.
No.
I think it's very
And
interesting.
For
Yeah,
that whole
yeah.
area.
Very interesting.
Well,
I don't understand what you're telling us, because it says that people were taking revenge for Tunstall when he was killed. I mean, I don't understand why they would see that.
Now here's a picture showing this very carriage that I'm standing right beside. Here it is in 1906 here in Lincoln.
Oh, I thought I read something in there that why he was,
The Mountain Pride.
other guy was there.
Very interesting to stand here and look at.
They mishandled.
Very awesome and amazing how they built them. You know, when you're watching television, you never really see all the details of how things work. You know, like there's where the horse whip and the heavy dutiness of it all, how all the suspension and steering and everything works.
The only store in town.
yes.
Yeah.
This step here where you step up in there.
They had gotten a lot of cattle. They had huge cattle herds, and when he came in, it threw a wrench in their whole house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes more sense.
It's unknown whether Billy would have been in this one. And then who actually knows about this leather here on the side, the brake handle.
Okay, so, all right, we will. Thank you.
Let's take a look inside. Go ahead.
Said poor horses. Because I don't know how many horses were pulling it.
Go ahead and keep telling your story, because I personally like hearing this in the background when I rewatch the video.
Well, that's all I had to say about that, this coach, but,
And this is all original interior,
yes, sir.
and it is so much more well lit than last time. I can actually see, like it had wallpaper or something in it, some kind of cloth wallpaper. I wonder if they would have been bringing, Billy wouldn't have been in nothing like this. It'd have been some kind of a jail, something, wooden wagon with bars or something, huh?
No, he would, I don't think he ever rode in a coach.
Whenever they did capture Billy the kid, was he already in Lincoln or did they transport him to here?
No, they transported him.
Good.
here.
Then all my narration leading up to this point, I'll leave.
He was actually arrested in Old Missy, I believe, and taken to Santa Fe, and then they brought him here to hang. And that's when they, 2 weeks before he was supposed to be hung is when he escaped.
Yeah, I got all that in the last video, but I didn't clear up how he wound up being at this courthouse.
But what people don't probably realize is there was so many other people that murdered people during that time, and he was the only one that was ever charged, and was the only one that was,
Because I'm going to cut this sound clip out and move it under the video, can you back up just to where they captured Billy the Kid, and I'll use your narration in this video.
I don't know what I said.
I asked you, how did Billy the Kid wind up here in Lincoln? You said they captured him somewhere and transported him.
Pat Garrett had captured him in Old Missy, which is around Las Cruces, and then he was taken to Santa Fe and put on trial and sentenced to hang. And then they brought him back here to hang him. And 2 weeks before he was supposed to be hung is when he attacked Deputy Bell on the staircase and shot him with his own gun. And then he went to the armory room and got Marshall Ollinger's shotgun, which he had been bullied with, because he knew Marshall Ollinger would hear the shot that killed Deputy Bell. And he waited for him up there at that northeast window, and when he came over, he shot him from that northeast window. supposedly saying, "Hello, Bob," and shot him twice. He didn't need to shoot him twice, but he did.
No, with a shotgun. Yeah. You don't want to get shot twice with a shotgun.
No.
Yeah.
I don't really have a different opinion about him since I've been working here. I don't think he was a vicious killer. I mean, his mother died when he was 14.
If you're faced with being hanged,
Yeah, you're going to try to
that
escape.
desperate mindset you're in of trying to figure out how to live a little bit longer, you'll do some stuff.
But they said also that it's, he killed 21 men. He didn't kill 21 men, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And he may have been responsible with other people killing 6 other people, but he didn't kill 21. That was just made up.
You know, if I was to walk into a small herd of cows, say there's 10 cows, and they're all bunched together, and I go in and I make an attempt to kill one, the moment that cow senses its life is in danger, it's going to try to save its life if it has to stampede 1 or 2 of the other cows. Say it accidentally kills a couple of cows trying to escape. Well, the cow never thought about ever doing that. It's just that I was trying to kill it.
Yeah.
So in the process of that, in a blackout moment where you're not really thinking and you're not yourself, wound up killing to escape. And I think that's what Billy's mindset was.
Yeah.
That he probably never would have killed anybody, except for in that moment he was facing the horror of being hung.
Well, he had killed some people before then, but, Billy was a little man. He was only 5'2". The first guy he killed was a big burly blacksmith that had tormented him.
That's pretty small, because I'm 5'9", 140, so he would have been like
He was little.
Chinese small,
Yeah,
huh?
But people back then too weren't big people. Now, Pat Garrett was. He was 6'4", but that was an exception. Most of the people were smaller people. They had small feet, smaller people back then. But the first person he did kill was a blacksmith, and he was in his teens. And the blacksmith was bullying him, and he kept telling him, stop, and when he didn't, he killed him, and that was the first person he killed. But he didn't just kill to kill.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't like a serial killer, I don't think.
And it wasn't like today with
No.
all the luxuries and the 911 and cell phones and
No.
all. It was he probably felt like that was leading up to getting more and more dangerous.
Yeah. And Tunstall, when he joined the regulators, Tunstall, he looked up to Tunstall, even though Tunstall wasn't much older than he was. Tunstall was only 24. Billy was 20, I guess, or about 21. But he never really had a father figure. His father they don't know much about his father. He had a stepfather that was 12 years younger than his mother. And when she died, he didn't want anything to do with Billy or his brother. So, he was on his own. They were both on their own.
Now, you don't have a problem with your voice being on this video, because I am putting it on YouTube. With all the background noise, I have to either add music or a narration. So all this looking at the carriage, times that I'm looking at the courthouse where I'm not talking, it'll just be you telling that story about Billy in there to fill the gap so that there's information, because I don't know it. You don't have a problem with it?
I don't guess.
Okay. Very cool how these old safes were back in the day. I'm not seeing a date, but let's get on up to the courthouse. There's the pistols looked like back in then. That's Billy the Kid right there. Billy the Kid because he was a kid. It's very hard to read. This top part is to the memory of, and I can't make out any of that. I can't really make out the name, Miss Catherine. I'm not going to bother trying to say it. I didn't look it up. 1874. Died September. Right now we're just looking at how they made the tombstone. Here's scratched all over the bottom, mother of Billy the Kid. So you can look up all this stuff yourself. I'm just looking at how they made it. Somebody took the time to try to carve this. Now remember that back door, that side door that I showed you earlier in the video. After Deputy Bell was shot, he managed to get through the door on your right before he died in the backyard. This is that door from outside. Now here is the home of Pete Maxwell, Fort Sumner, the location where Sheriff Pat Garrett shot Billy the Kid on July 14th, 1881. And here's Billy the Kid's tombstone. So Billy the Kid was actually killed in Fort Sumner, Sumner by Sheriff Pete Maxwell. Now supposedly when Billy the Kid shot Deputy Bell, it was here at the bottom of this staircase, and then here marks the spot where one of the shots went into the wall. And Billy would have been standing right up there. And Billy the Kid was walked up these stairs, so let's go up here. This would have been the old armory. The Kid broke in here. It's a marker where Bell may have died, can be seen out the window. Now, earlier in the video, I showed you that marker there where J.W. Bell died. This is the window to the armory. This is where they kept all the guns. Straight across from here is the courtroom. We'll go in there in just a little bit. The back side of the courtroom. These are the doors to the sheriff's office when we were outside here up on the top balcony. I looked in the window. It was an old saloon, but I just found out that that over there was the actual saloon in this time. Now that being the staircase you come up down to this first door, this would have been the jail where they had the kid chained to the floor with a U-boat. The original floor. I guess the jail would have been taking up that area there. Billy the Kid was brought here to be sentenced and hung on something similar to that. That's behind this courthouse. Of course, that is not there, but that's what it would have looked like, which would have been right out here. Now, if we, instead of going into the courtroom, if we are to take a left here, which I find this very strange because those are the doors marked Sheriff's Office. When you come in and take an immediate right, you have this jail area. And I'm guessing the sheriff would have basically had his desk in here somewhere, I guess. It's not that big a room, 20 by 20, but check this out. Here's where we came in. There's the courtroom back there. Come on through, and we have a Masonic lodge. The Masonic Hall. Yeah. George Washington in his Masonic clothes. That's George Washington in the Masonic clothing. So some kind of a church of some kind here. Right across the hall from the courtroom. There's some. I mean, isn't this strange? Isn't this strange?
You guys are the leaders. Some leaders.
Now this chair here would be sitting here, and this would be in front of this chair. So you have this single chair and that here facing this one with the three chairs. And then there's the one there. All of these chairs. Okay. Okay, so we are leaving, heading back over to the courtroom. And I just find this so strange. Okay.
Lincoln's last words.
And we're going into the courtroom. I'm going to sit down over here for a minute, look around. Let's just look around a minute. It's where Billy the Kid, I'm trying to see whereabouts would he have been sitting. Where do you think Billy would have been sitting? At the judge's bench up there. I think he would have been there in one of the front seats. Let's look at this. The original leg irons that held Billy the Kid. I'm thinking that he would have been sitting. I'm thinking that he would have been sitting here's where the judge would have been. There's the jury box. The judge. Step up here a second. The judge is sitting here. He's sentencing Billy the Kid. The judge is sitting here. I would guess that he'd be talking to him generally right in there. Billy probably was sitting right there. More than likely, he was sitting in this spot. So let's sit down here. Okay. There's the jury. There's the judge. Billy the Kid, I hereby sentence you to hang by the neck until dead. This is what he would have saw, basically. He's looking at the judge. He's looking at the jury. We find him guilty. Gets up. know in which direction they would have taken him out. Probably around the back and out that way to the sheriff's office where the jail is over there. Because that would have went to the armory. It's for the territorial seal of New Mexico, the stamping device. It's a point of view from the jury box. And Billy would have been sitting there. Billy the Kid was taken back in here into the sheriff's office here. Shackled to the floor. Alright, so Billy the Kid is shackled in here and somehow he escapes. Somehow he escapes. Somehow he makes it out of here. Makes it down here to the armory. There's the courtroom. Somehow he gets in the armory here and gets a gun, shoots somebody somewhere in this hallway with a shotgun. Goes to escape, comes to the stairs, he has to shoot. Bell, just being shot at the bottom of the staircase, turns to his right to escape out of the back door. Wrestles with it, gets free. This is the doorway Bell escaped from. The stairway's coming down through here. He was shot right on the other side of this wall. He comes out of this door, staggers around the corner here, and dies somewhere in this area. There's the marker. That's the armory. This is where Bell fell and died, and I'm going to guess that being as he just came out of this door after being shot by Billy, more than likely this door was left open. And I'm thinking Billy would most likely, being as he was coming down these stairs here, there's that door, he would have probably escaped from this door and escaped out this way. Probably running for his life, probably ran off into these woods. I mean, that's what I would think I would do, run off into the thicket. I don't think I'd run all the way around the building and off into the town if I had just escaped, and maybe even still had shackles on. I'm sure at some point he would have been looking for a horse, which they would have been kept over in here. But right at first, in desperation and adrenaline pumped, he probably would have run that way. Let's assume he ran this way, which I doubt, because there you go, there's the sheriff's office up here, all the courtroom and there, all this everything coming out. There was using an old saloon at some point. That was actually the saloon, the Billy the Kid era. This being the old livery, this would have been basically where your horses and things would have been, your horses and stuff would have been parked and cared for. Much like those goats back there, this is marking the old livery. So Billy the Kid, having just escaped from the courthouse there, shot Booth on the back there. He died in the back. All the horses would have been parked where you see cars now, if he was seeking a quick horse. But I would think that being as he just exchanged all that gunfire, would have been immediately trying to hide for a while and wait till dark to steal a horse. So more than likely, he escaped out of this courthouse and went off that way. Standing here looking seems like the more practical thing, with an unknown amount of men coming after you to kill you. I just don't think you would. I just don't think you would have ran straight out into town here in daylight. I mean, what do you think? Let's say you just shot 2 people in that courtroom. You've been sentenced to hang. Somehow you escape and you make it out of that courthouse over on that far corner. I mean, where would you go? Where would you go? You got all the mountains back there in the background. Things to, a better chance of hiding. Or would you have taken off and run here right off into town? Who knows how many people were moving around and all. I mean, people that write the history doesn't actually know every detail. They weren't there. Standing here, the courthouse is still in the exact same place. That is the exact same place. He would have actually run out of this way or that way, or went up into there. That part right there hasn't changed. Having just walked all through there and standing here now, putting myself in his shoes, if I was fleeing for my life and I just went out that door on that back corner, in that moment of adrenaline, I do believe I'd have ran right up to that mountainous area there in the background. Let's look at this. Here is where he escaped from. There's where he most likely would have ran. Here is an overview of the whole area. The most logical decision is off to the left. Maybe off in that direction. And wait till dark. And plus there's other houses and farms and things, right down. He could have went just down the road just a little bit and stole a horse. To go this way, further into town, would have been extremely too risky. Would have been extremely too risky. I just don't think he went this way. He escaped from that courthouse and went back the same way that I came in the beginning of the video, and he stole a horse from somebody's house or something a little further down. Here's a house just a little ways down the street with horses, just to give you an idea of what it would have most realistically been like for him to steal a horse. That's the direction I think he would have went. Yeah, I'm really feeling that he ran the opposite direction of where Booth fell and died. He ran off that way, off into that way. Now, supposedly this was the saloon during the time of the sentencing. And at some other point that was the saloon, but let's take a look inside here, see what we see. It does look like a old saloon in there. This building's for sale, so it's all locked up, but yeah, more than likely some of this furnishing is original. This whole town is a living museum. So there you go. Kind of got an idea of what an actual saloon of that time looked like. I'm sure some of it is authentic. This is the site of the old Worthington Hotel. In the frontier days, the judges would have been staying here. It's where the frontier judges would have been staying during times that they were in town to hold court. And over here we have some ruins. Here we have some ruins that are of different ages. Like obviously this wall's a little older than, or different age than that wall. But you never know what we're looking at. Mud, brick, stone. This was some kind of a building, obviously, from far back. There's no plaque explaining what it is. It was a pretty big doorway. There's writing in all of these bricks. But occasionally I see names like words like cattle and stuff. Yeah, people have just scratched their names all in these. This could have been some kind of a stable. The bars give you the impression that it was some kind of a jail. But I doubt it. It's pretty old, whatever it is. And this doorway, you're looking at around 12 feet this door would have been, so this could have been what we would refer to today as like a mechanic's shop, where maybe they fixed carriages or whatever. It's kind of the feel I'm getting. And then there it went further because there's remains that the walls came out further here. The entire place. I filmed this video, this town, more extensively in a previous video titled "Something Has Billy Kid" in it, and I went through everything in this town. That includes going inside all the buildings and whatnot. Today, I'm not going to do that. Talking to one of the rangers, one of the official people here, they're run the museum, the state-owned stuff. And I was told that before the courthouse was the courthouse, it was called the store. It was the store. You had billiards, you had different things. Now, Billy the Kid used to come into this town all the time because he was only a teenager. He used to come into this town all the time and play pool and sneak around and get alcohol. So he was very familiar with all of these buildings. When the saloon was there, this livery, he may have even worked in this at some point. At one time, this was the saloon. He was familiar with this whole town, and apparently he came in and out of this town quite often. He must have lived fairly close by. So he used to play pool and drink and basically purchase things in the store there. Unbeknownst to him, one day he would be captured and tried and sentenced to hang to death in that same very building right there. I find that fascinating, that a building he once knew as a store and a place where he just went to spend his money would later be the place associated with his incarceration and being sentenced to death, and escaped from there and everything. Killed a couple people there, all of that. Just fascinating. Some things you only find out from talking to people when you're actually there. I'm going to go a little ways down the road, kind of around the corner a little bit, which actually is a couple blocks. And I'm going to go down to where the only source of water back in that time, there was no running water. Some places may have had a water tower, but I'm going to go down here and show you the actual watering hole of the little stream, where pretty much anybody living here at some point either got their water from there or drank from there. So I'm going to also include that I feel pretty confident that Billy the Kid drank from there quite often. Now where we're going is down this trail here. Down this trail. This is the actual trail here that you would have come down to get your water. A lot of things are still the same. All this sign here basically tells you in long form what I'm telling you now, and it tells you be real careful and watch out for rattlesnakes, because it is summertime, it's hot, and I'm sure there's snakes everywhere. This building here, if nothing was ever maintained, rebuilt or fixed since Billy the Kid to now, it would all be in this condition. Courthouse, all of this would all be in this condition if there never was any updates and improvements. Because you're never famous right when something happens, you're famous a long time after. So during the time of all this, Billy the Kid was just another criminal. And it wasn't a big deal. There was no story, there was no history, there wasn't any of that fame. He was just a criminal, and this was just a town. It was one of the birthplaces of the courthouse and all that kind of stuff, but it was probably 50 75 years later, before the fame started coming in, and maybe within 100 years, the need to try to preserve what was left. And there is quite a bit that was left and preserved. But this here, this is what the whole town would be like if it was just simply left alone from then to now. So understandably, you got to use a little bit of imagination. You have little fragments of things like this that let you know what it was actually. Now this was obviously an outhouse. Let me turn the camera around and show you this absolute coolness. No doubt, being as this was an outhouse, it probably wasn't built to the exact standards of the buildings, but very close. Here you have a room, had shelves in it. Here you have, believe it or not, an outhouse that two people could sit down and take a dump at the same time. That's unusual. That is unusual. And it looks like your waste would have just fell on the ground down there, so it probably smelled horrible. And then you have some kind of a storage room here on the side. Well, there you go. That probably is one of the actual remaining true pieces throughout all the history of this that may not have changed any. And there's a feeling that you have when you're physically standing in a place. I'm physically standing here, and I feel like that is the real deal. And I'm looking at this and wondering, of all the sewage that would have been going on here, there had to have been some kind of a way to drain that. And I wonder why it would be drained downhill. Downhill. This is all downhill coming to the only fresh water supply for this entire town back in that day. You have an outhouse there that's uphill, and everything has to come downhill, and I'm thinking that it would run right on down into there, and then at some point wind up down here in the freshwater drinking supply. Now, I don't have any doubt that at some point, Billy the Kid, over all the times that he's been in this town, before he was an outlaw, just a kid, I don't have any doubt, being a poor kid, he would have come down this trail. Because I have explored this whole entire town. I was here the last time for 10 solid hours. And explored everything. Every nook and cranny and every thing. I even was in places I wasn't supposed to be in. All the way from one end of this town to the other. In and out of everything and on top of some things. This is the only source of fresh water there was. It all came from here in some way or another. All this field out here, I've been up to the top of that because I thought it was a mountain. You get up there to the top, like I said earlier in the video, flat as a table, far as you can see on both sides. It's actually, this town is inside a canyon. But I don't have any doubt that Billy the Kid was standing right where I am right now, before he was an outlaw. May possibly have even been some type of an old bridge there. Had to have been. During the real rainy seasons, all the water coming down through town would all drain down through here and right into the stream. But if I lived here right now, before cars, before pavement, before indoor plumbing and electricity, and I'm thirsty, it's the middle of the summer, it's August 2019, it's hot. Not really hot where I am, but I'm 6,000 feet above sea level. But anyhow, it's still about 90 something. There comes a point where you got to get something to drink. This is the simplest, without having to go into a building or possibly have to have money. This is where you come. This is where you come. This would be where I would come down to and fill my canteen or jug or whatever it is that I had and drink from that. And I'm thinking, no, I see trash in it. I was going to take a drink out of it right now, but I don't think so. I see trash in it and I don't have a clue what's upstream. Anyhow, time a teenage Billy the Kid just come across this bridge, or a bridge similar to it. He's come down here. He's thirsty. He's come down here to get a drink. Maybe fill up some kind of container. Where would you actually stand? I doubt the grass is the same. More than likely you're gonna stick kind of close to the trail. So more than likely he'd have just stood right down there. Could have just cut right through here. Stood right down there. Drank. Let's go down a little bit and see if there's maybe a little easier spot. I don't know if there was always a bridge here. Let's just assume there was. But you can see that it obviously pulls and gets a little bit bigger down in here. Quite a bit deeper there. It's at least a couple of feet deep. I see minnows and everything. Very well could be possible that Billy the Kid escaping from the courthouse ultimately, when he did get a horse, he probably, because the courthouse is off that way, he probably stole the horse back off this way from somebody's farm or somebody's house over the other side of the courthouse. And it'd been too difficult to try to go up that on horseback, so he would have had to have come down through here. No doubt. He would have ultimately have had to have come down through here. We're at the back side of the town behind the saloons. I just realized while editing this video that the Billy the Kid trail goes exactly the direction I'm describing. But hey. And he would have come down through here. And went on following that line till he could probably get up on top there. But then it's just flat. Probably would have stayed down in the canyon as much as possible and just kept on going to the next place where it was there that he actually got captured. It's the home of Pete Maxwell, Fort Sumner, the location where Sheriff Pat Garrett shot Billy the Kid on July 14th, 1881. Showed you a picture of the sheriff's house where he was shot and killed. I just stepped on that, and believe it or not, that is a big giant ant bed of some kind, and it is solid. But you see the ants coming out of it. It's an unusual ant bed because It just looks like somebody dumped a wheelbarrow load of gravel or something there, but here we are out here. The last time I was out here, I had a mountain lion. I climbed up the mountain there because there's a fence separating public land from private land, and I had went up there. When I came back down, apparently there was a mountain lion fairly close, kind of snuck up behind me a little bit, but he never did, obviously didn't get me. It's another one of those giant ant beds. Thing's about 1 foot tall, 3 foot in diameter. It's a big ant bed. You don't see them that big in Texas. Some kind of a cottony material there growing on these plants. Okay. You can't tell because of all the trees, but there's all the town there. Courthouse is right through there. Billy the Kid escaping from that courthouse. No doubt I've covered this whole town. I've covered this whole town in every kind of way, and off camera I have went around and around and around and went through every scenario of escaping that courthouse. And I am almost absolutely for sure he ran that way. He stole a horse from off that way. Maybe 1/4 mile, maybe 1/2 mile. Somebody's house. Here is a house with horses just a short ways down the road. Probably something similar to where he would have gotten his horse. He would have had no choice but to come down through here, because that is just entirely too difficult to try to go up on a horse. I barely could get up that thing walking. That's with my hands and my feet. It's just too much. No doubt that probably at night he came right down through here. I am probably looking at the exact path that he or me, even in that scenario, would have had no choice but to come this way. Right down through here. And keep on going down through this valley, hugging up to the edge of the canyon there. Straight down through here. He would have come down through here. So this is how Billy the Kid escaped Lincoln. Now sadly, I'm not going anywhere near where he was captured, but there's no shortage of Billy the Kid history and stories. I just happened to be coming through Lincoln today, and I wanted to do a little bit from my perspective. From my personal point of view of what it's like to physically be here. I hope you found that enjoyable, interesting, and hopefully you even may have actually learned something. I may have learned something that I won't find out till later. Man, it smells so good right here. It smells like cinnamon. Just the air. I think it's these cattails. I think it's these cattails. Man, that is so good. It smells like cinnamon toast. More than likely, this is what a crossing would have looked like going across, not so much a bridge. And it would be so easy to just walk up here, stick your hand down in the water and drink or fill up a canteen. And more than likely, the water is clean at this point, regardless what's upstream, because the water's coming through so much of this greenery. I'm gonna pick me one of these cattails for a memorabilia thing. I've got my piece of cattail. Very difficult to break off. Took a few minutes. The water is actually very sweet. I didn't swallow it, but it tastes very, very, very much just like it's right out of the well. Anyhow, I just had to at least go to that extent in case I find out something in the future about the place. This is interesting. Have some kind of a dam set up there. Looks like it's built out of old trees. And just like last time, I can't find the bridge. It's that type of material right there that they made the dam out of there, the spillway. Guess that's to keep the water slowed down so that you always have big puddles, big deep puddles of water on each side of the spillways. I need to be watching out for snakes. I have obviously gone the wrong way. After a lot of walking, I finally found a trail. I came across this old, what looks to me like it possibly used to be some type of a water well at some point. And then the town's all back off in there, but I don't know how they would have pumped it uphill up to there, so I don't exactly know what that was. But I'm thinking, yeah, there's the bridge up there. I was heading the complete opposite direction. Run, Billy, run. How would those last days of your life be if you had been in a courtroom, sentenced to be hung by the neck till dead, somehow escape, shoot two people, steal a horse, and take off running for your life? Ultimately to be shot at a sheriff's house. At some short period of time in the future. I have done a lot of walking. Here's the old outhouse. How about that? Alright. I'm losing my voice. Just imagine dirt instead of pavement. Pretty much looks the same. back here behind the courthouse. There's where Belle died. Billy escaped right there from that side door, came out, more than likely ran off into that direction, stole a horse, came back down. We were way back there in the field back there along the edge of that canyon. And I'm fixing to head right in here. Alright, even though this bathroom does look a little bit modern, it says here your historic staff works hard to provide a clean outhouse you do. Please let the historic staff know if the privy needs attention. Please hold handle down for complete flush. Blah blah blah. They have a historic septic system. You don't even want to know what I saw when I lifted that lid. I didn't have anything any kind of napkins or whatever to be out in the woods. I came in here, it's too late. We just use this as the comedy section of the video. But, oh man, I'm gonna have to tell somebody. So there's probably been 10 people before me. And, oh man, imagine what it was like. Get out of that echoing room. How bad was it just to be using an outhouse like the one I showed you down the road, where I don't know what they wiped with. Sears and Roebuck pages, and there is no bathroom in that courthouse. More than likely the outhouse was in this general area out here, and you just had to clean up the best you could. It's one of the realities of being a human. Oh man, so even that was quite the experience. But hey, it all happened 50 feet from where Billy the Kid escaped out of that courthouse and ran for his life. Belle was laying over there dead on the ground, right? I'm right here. Oh man, that sucked. Ha! Just laugh about that. How about that flame job? I decided to stop for a second before I could leave out of town. This is a very long way from where I live. I decided I'm going to go in here where they do the Billy the Kid reenactments. And just in case you may pull up some videos on YouTube or something and watch them how they do it, I'm going to show you the things that you don't see on YouTube. How about that? Walking in here into the I don't know if that's in reverse to you, but adults $10. We're right behind the courthouse. This is where everybody would sit. Earlier in the video, I was peeking up over the fence there somewhere around that gate. But while there's nobody here, I didn't see an actual sign that said "Do not enter." If you happen to see any of these videos of this reenactment on YouTube as to when they're coming in and out of these buildings, I'm going to show you behind the scenes. So we have Blazer's Mill. All these buildings have to do with all the events associated with everything that's known about Billy the Kid. The McSweeney house, that's where the judges stay over there. There's the courthouse. I'll show you that tower before I leave out. There's that old church. I have another video that has Billy the Kid in the title where I go through everything. And if you're interested, watch it. You can see the whole entire place inside and out. That includes inside that old church. Okay, well, it's just a facade. It's just a facade. The actors hide back here. All their horses are all parked off in here, or stalled. Because if you come as a visitor to watch the show, you're not going to see all this back here. Guess all this is changing rooms and whatever. I'm going to go ahead and go around. One of the benefits of actually being here. Okay, this is real cool. I'll show you this actual building here, the real one down the road. There's the old church. Now let's see what the people are, how they're coming in and out. The actors, where they're hiding, where they're popping in and out at. Just a real narrow hallway. I got my elbows tucked into my stomach just to fit through here. I don't see any way to get in here. Guess that's just where they store all of the props. Okay, we've just come out of the courthouse. There's the saloon. More than likely that's the one off to the side that had the maroon, the one I looked in the window of. You'd have the sheriff coming out up there. I didn't see a way to get up there. They're just being here sitting or standing around waiting on their cue to come out and do their part. These doors, obviously that's where all the props are and how you get upstairs. And it's even air conditioned. Let's go out here and sit down in the pew and look back this way. And they've obviously been doing this for quite some time because these old concrete bleachers are obviously very old. Even the supposed modern ones are pretty old. And I was peeking in there earlier. Let's sit down here. Here's your point of view if you're sitting here in the middle. All the show and the stories going on. Now from this perspective, Billy the Kid escaped out of that door. You see those people at over there. You see that? You see those people right there? That's the door I believe he escaped out of. None of these fences would have been here. This just would have been open. I don't have any doubt it, just being a teenager, he took off and tore out this way. Off into those trees. Went off out there somewhere and stole a horse. Came back late at night. Came back down through here, following this canyon. This is that tower looking building that it was in the Billy the Kid reenactment area. This is that, what it represents. Some kind of last stand fort. During an Indian attack or whatever, all the people would gather up in here, and this would be their last defense. All these holes where rifle barrels would be sticking out and shooting. You could stand back here and not get shot. Now look at that door. Just look at that door. That thing's 4 inches thick. 4 inches thick, and it's a solid slab. I don't see any bullet holes or anything in it. Probably wouldn't be hard to bust through here with something. Well, I don't know. Behind this mud, it's all rock. And it looks like the walls are, ooh-wee. Yeah, that wall's about 2.5 feet thick. Yeah, 2.5 feet thick. Alright, look. It's all branches. All branches that makes the floor. They're just all put together. Looks like some kind of ironwood. These big beams. A little fireplace. A little table for 1 or 2. Little bitty. It's only about 10 feet across. You'd stick your gun out. And very limited to your range of being able to shoot out here. Pretty much somebody'd have to be right in front of that hole. This would be where you put the lantern. Another place for a lantern. Yeah, this isn't a very good design for your ability to shoot side to side. You pretty much would only be able to shoot that Jeep out there. You wouldn't really be able to. Not a very good, well thought out here. Let's go up the ladder. Pretty neat how they did that. Let's go up here. Some kind of a thick layer of stucco. I'm 5'9", and my head's just about to hit this top. I don't know what they were thinking they were going to shoot out these windows. You're not going to be able to aim down if you're surrounded out here. You just can't aim down. I don't know what the point of these are except for shooting at a distance. Alright. I guess all the real shooting would have been done up here. Maybe those ports are just for light. Light and air. Get up here on the top. Which they didn't have this open last time I was here. And even from up here, it'd be hard. I'm having to reach out there. Look how thick that is. Yeah, but you could shoot down and around. There's the old church from the reenactment area. It's right back off in there. It's where I was back in the field where I was describing where Billy most likely escaped on horse. Off out through this way and on down the canyon. Well, there you go. It's not very often you get to get up here. Not very often. Man, I'm only 142 pounds, and I barely did squeeze through there. I don't see how somebody the size of John Wayne could have got up through that. Been a tight squeeze, where this one here is huge. Huge hole. Alright. And look at that, how old looking that looks. That's some old looking stuff there. This probably would have been for fire and for cooking purposes. Who knows how long they'd had to stay in here. Now if you read all this, it says all about the Indians and all that. I don't know how they'd have locked that when that door was shut. Trying to envision that. I'll go ahead. I was just trying to see how they would have locked it. Alright. And possibly this wall may have been taller back then as some kind of added measure to slow the enemy down, because it does go all the way around. Alright. Hear those guys talking through the holes. Alright, I had to turn around and come back because a town is not a town unless it has a post office. Matter of fact, it's the post office that makes it a town. So it's very possible that Billy the Kid may have received some mail here, being as this was the only post office around. This was the old feed store and hardware store and all, but this here is the actual Lincoln, New Mexico post office, dating all the way back to the time of the courthouse. And it is still an absolutely functional courthouse to this day. This is functional. People put their mail right in there. That is solid steel. Let's check it out. Old screen door. Just look at that floor. Look at that. That wood is worn straight through. Little bitty. Look at this. Look at this. It's an actual functioning post office. There's where the postmaster would be during his hours. This is where your packages would be dropped off and received. Just look at these cool looking. You have to actually know the combination to be able to unlock your mailbox. Look at this. This is just too cool. Bars on the windows. Really, really, really old floor. And I'm guessing that that's a painting right there of the place. I'm not going to do too much talking about it because I don't know, but I know that's the building. Look, there's the post office with the dirt road in front of it. Before pavement, there gives you a good idea of what it was like walking out there to the street. Except there's a car in the picture. I can't. There's something having to do with the lock, whoever the company is that made all these locks. And there's the door to get back there. See if we can peek through this crack. Alright. Door's actually held open by a rock. Sticky mail in there. Alright. Now I'm leaving Lincoln. Heading completely out of I'm at the edge of Lincoln now. I'm just about to go out of it, but all this historical stuff says that Billy the Kid actually stayed here. Some kind of like a bed and breakfast type of place. My battery's down to 10%. Let's see if I can't get a little bit of it. Yeah, that roof is actually sagging like that. Billy the Kid actually stayed here, may have even worked here. In a little bit of a hurry because my battery's dying. Yeah, Billy the Kid slept here. There's the water well. I'm sure he roamed all around. It smells like there's a sewer leak. Now look at that. Kind of a job is that? Looks like an old dump truck. Cause see how the bottom opens up and dumps. I bet you this was something similar to a dump truck, except it may have carried grain or something, but still, you fill it up when you pull it over to where you're going. Somehow you open up those bottom doors and dump it. That is awesome. Never seen an old dump truck wagon. Now you have. The old outhouse. Yeah. Well, if you do find out at some point in the future that he may have worked here for some extra money or something. Now you've seen it. I wonder if I can just go on around. Doesn't appear to be open. See what's around here. That is cool. That is cool. All right. Well, there we go. It is a state historical landmark. Plaqued and everything right out there. And just in time. This is the Ellis & Son store. You saw the store in the Billy the Kid reenactment area, so the Ellison store had some kind of part to play in all that story. This is the old historic cemetery just outside of Lincoln. I mean, I'm not even a half a mile out of Lincoln. The majority of the people who died in Lincoln were buried in here. A lot of the graves are just simply marked with rocks. Most of the graves are just simply marked with rocks. You don't have a clue who's buried there. Don't have a clue who's buried there, who's buried there. The majority of the graves out here have nothing more than a big rock marking, and only the family knows who they are. It's not very often in your life that you're going to see these old wooden graves marked with an actual wooden cross. There's a lot of them out here. A lot of them. And you have one right here that's just got a plaque of wood. That's how Billy's mama's tombstone was that we saw in the courthouse. It was just a plaque of wood that somebody had carved all that on. Very unique kind of feeling standing here. If it wasn't for the occasional car driving by, I mean, you feel like you're a couple of hundred years back in the past. I mean, you just see graves everywhere. This is absolutely marked with nothing but rocks. Not even a name, not even an attempt to carve a name on a rock. And look at this tree. Mary our darling, no date, little kid or a baby. It's been there so long that the tree has grown over it, and you can tell that tree's been there for a very long time. That's a cedar or a cypress. And it's in the couple of 100 years old. All right. That sun is beaming hard. I'm seeing 1800s. I see a few 1700s. This is one of those graveyards that you could just simply be covered up with a pile of rocks. It's covered up with a pile of rocks. Some World War II veterans. Yeah, a lot of people's finished out their time in this world just being covered up with a pile of rocks. Okay, according to that sign right there, 10 miles out of historic Lincoln, where the Billy the Kid courthouse was, we've been coming down through the valley here. 10 miles down the road, Billy the Kid historical exhibit over there where I'm parked at. Alright. And here they've spent all the money to build this Billy the Kid historical area here, letting you know that 10 miles down the road that way you're going to come into Lincoln. Now here you have historical Lincoln, New Mexico. There's the courthouse there. There's Billy the Kid. There's the gun that killed Billy the Kid. Alright, you can do your own research on all this. It's a lot of reading. Alright, well, as I was saying earlier in the video, how I assume Billy the Kid escaped, stole a horse, and the easiest route to keep from breaking the horse's leg would have been to come on down this valley for 10 miles. Of course, that was all dirt, and more than likely he went off out through there to wherever it was, the other place where he was ultimately captured and killed. So here I come to the end of my story concerning Billy the Kid, and I'm kind of feeling like most of what I said is accurate. Most of what I said is accurate. Hope you enjoyed that. I've had a good time. I've been doing it a whole lot longer than this video, of course. That'll be all.